The biggest legal battle in the entire prop firm world might finally be over, and it's a shocker. A federal judge just recommended that all legal charges against my Forex funds be dropped, that the CFTC be sanctioned, and on top of that, they have to pay all of my Forex funds' legal fees. We're talking about massive misconduct, false statements, and even government retaliation. In today's video, we're going to break down exactly what happened, what the court said, and moving forward, what it means for prop firm traders. Ultimately, the question is, what does this mean for the future of the entire prop firm industry? And perhaps what you have been wondering most is whether or not my Forex funds is going to make a comeback. Let's get into it. Okay, so to back up, many of us can remember exactly where we were when we first heard news of my Forex funds closing down back in 2023. I remember I was at the office, I was wrapping up, I just popped on Twitter and I saw everybody started to talk about it. And you saw pretty much overnight the entire industry just absolutely freak out. Everybody started throwing on simulated, the word simulated on their website. It was total chaos, and my Forex funds traders were really left in the dark in regards to whether or not they could still trade. Were they going to receive a payout if they had one pending? Were they going to receive a refund? It was absolutely crazy. And unfortunately, like most legal things, this is now, last time I checked, 2025. So things have been drawn out for quite some time. But all of this came to a screeching halt on April 30th when a special master recommended that the CFTC that they dismiss the entire case against my Forex funds with prejudice. Now, I am not going to act and pretend like many people on Twitter. They act like they're lawyers and they know everything. That obviously is not my expertise. So I'm not going to act smarter than I am. I looked up, well, what does it mean with prejudice? It means that the decision is final, that they can't go after my Forex funds again in this case. So with prejudice means it's final. This is the decision that the judge has made. So it's pretty breaking news. On top of that, my Forex funds, the case wasn't just closed, they were actually awarded reasonable legal fees, meaning the CFTC not only has to drop and dismiss the case, they also have to pay for all of the legal fees that my Forex funds incurred during this lawsuit. And considering it's been going on since September 2023, I can only imagine the hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, that have been incurred. Remember, and we're going to get into it, my Forex funds was absolutely massive. So I'm sure they had some of the best lawyers on the case, and they come with a very high price tag. So why did the judge dismiss this case? That's really the big question. Well, upon review, the judge said that the CFTC acted in bad faith. On top of that, the judge also said that the CFTC misled the court. So ultimately, in layman's terms, the CFTC was not a good actor in this case. They did a whole bunch of things that are not above board that really they shouldn't have done. Now, overall, this is extremely rare in federal cases that the CFTC, not only that the case would have to get dismissed, but that it went to this point of there being this much misconduct and that the judge actually outspokenly said that there was this misconduct, that they acted in bad faith. So overall, it is a massive win for my Forex funds and potentially for the entire prop firm industry. And that's what we're going to talk about next. But first off, the CFTC was accused of several things. They were accused of making false statements to the courts, withholding key evidence for months, including an email that cleared my Forex funds of what they were being accused of. And lastly, they failed to disclose facts that contradicted their very own claims. I think one of the craziest things that came out from this entire case was that the CFTC claimed that there was a $31.5 million payment that was sent directly to the owner of my Forex funds, when in reality, it was actually a transfer to the Canadian government for taxes. It was a $31.5 million tax payment, which is just absolutely insane. But the CFTC actually had evidence that this was a payment to the Canadian government. What makes things worse is they actually had proof from Canadian authorities of this tax payment being valid prior to them even filing the case. The judge said that the agency's actions were careless, sloppy, and inexcusable. To give you a little bit of context for just how massive this decision is, just a few hours after the case, the CFTC Commissioner Mercinger resigned just hours after this ruling, and multiple staff have been placed on administrative leave, which just goes to show you this wasn't just a minor error. This was massive acting in bad faith. The acting chair Pham issued a scathing statement saying the CFTC engaged in willful and bad faith conduct, multiple false statements. This is inexcusable. Okay, so the big question is, now that this case is dismissed, it is over. What does this mean for traders? Well, first things first, there's a certain level of accountability that traders now need to realize, and it's actually a good thing because it means that no longer are only prop firms going to be held accountable. It means that regulators, as well as they should be, will also be held accountable. Now, the big question that you're probably wondering is, what does this mean for the future of my Forex funds? If they were sending a $31.5 million tax payment, you can only imagine the kind of revenue they were bringing in. They were one of, if not the largest prop firm back in 2023, before all of this started. They had thousands and thousands of traders with them, hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue. They were an absolutely massive company. This isn't just a small time thing. This isn't small news. This was huge, and it rocked the entire industry. I mean, at the end of the day, part of the reason why Deal withdrew from the prop firm industry is because of this case. So it didn't just have an impact on traders or prop firms. It literally had a fairly large impact on even the peripheral industry, companies that work that aren't just a prop firm, but Deal is the perfect example of this, right? They're on the periphery of the prop firm industry, and even they were impacted by this. So is my Forex funds going to come back? Well, I'm not going to, I have no idea, okay? I have absolutely no idea. I have no insider intel, unfortunately. But the fact that this case was dismissed does leave the door open for a really interesting discussion as for whether or not they will return. But the next question that brings up is it even possible for them to return? And that raises the question of trust. I think it's a positive sign for the entire industry that this case was dismissed, but would you sign up for my Forex funds if they come out today, if they come out tomorrow and say, the case was dismissed, we are back live, we are operating once again? I don't know. To be honest, I think there was a few other things that were raised in terms of concerns from traders, specifically slippage that traders were experiencing. And in these court cases, or in this court case, there was some reference to that kind of slippage. So will traders trust my Forex funds again if they try and return? I have no idea. Is it possible that they could return under a different name? Also, I have no idea. This is all speculation, but it's a fun discussion to have because, as I said, I think overall this is good news. This is positive news for the industry. And I think that this is perhaps the largest win for the industry from this entire case, this transparency that clients and traders, they now have a better understanding of what's going on. They're trading demo funds, that they don't have access to live capital. And I think that's going to be one of the biggest permanent changes that we see across the industry because of this case. A huge question that I have is what's going to happen to traders that were with them? Are refunds going to be issued? Are payouts that have been pending for almost 2 years going to be issued? Will they relaunch? As I said, I have no insider information. I have no idea. But regardless of whether or not they relaunch, there is something that needs to be addressed in terms of clients that were with them. And I think that's going to be really interesting. And that's going to be really exciting. But again, in terms of trust, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment down below. Would you trust my Forex funds again if they were to relaunch? If you made it this far, I appreciate it. YouTube thinks you'll like this video next. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.